Alrighty, thank you everybody for tuning in. So this is Jameil, part of the Draw 2 crew here. Eddie asked I give you guys a quick deck profile on what I brought up to Chicago this past time. So I'm just gonna give you a quick rundown on PG or GG. I like to call it with D-Police. So of course, gonna start off with best starter. Everybody wants to do, Black Boy, but Draco Kid's where it's at. I'm gonna give you just a quick trigger lineup. Of course, we're gonna do all three. Well, not all three, all four of the grade 3 heal triggers. The main reason, of course, it's just standard now with the meta that you want to run these, but the biggest thing is later on with D-Police, these things become bigger than G-Guards can ever become. So I'm going to kind of show you some combos about that later down on the road, but we'll just keep this in mind. So yeah. Of course, we're going to get to the rest of the triggers. So you got your over trigger, standard, shiny. If you're not doing SP over triggers, I don't know what you're doing. Then I run 2 Draw Sentinels and 3 Operator Girl Linkas. We all know about Operator Girl Linka right now, so everybody knows it's a GB3. If your Vanguard is 20,000 power or more, she goes into Soul, you draw a card, and if it's 35,000 or more, then when your Vanguard attacks, and if it reveals a grade 3, you can Soul Blast and you can break PGs. So this is really good. It's honestly the standard for those late game plays. We're going into the cross, you're doing all this, your X Gallops. It's gonna give us that, they're dropping and having to eat their entire hand just to guard even the most basic attacks. So definitely a key card right there. I run 2 of the GB1s that go into Soul. I mostly use this just A, we need crits, but also B, because we're going to be resting a lot to kind of double our unit's power with, our laurels. So this is a good sort of, when my Vanguard attacks, I can make it even bigger, get that draw, refill my hand, since I'm committing so much to board. And then lastly, for the triggers, we got 4 of the Stride Fodder trigger. Just because we want to be saving grade 3s in our hands for shield, we want to save them for abilities, we want to be stacking. So this is really good for, we just want to, hey, stride with this, I don't have to worry about it. And also 15k shield, our grade 3s are going to be at 20k by the time we finish our first stride. So we don't really care too much about that. Now on to the grade 1s. So since we're running D-Police, we don't run too many of certain numbers, but with it, of course, our best ride target, Dimensional Robo Die Prop. So the big thing with him is that when he's placed on Vanguard, you take a card from your hand and reveal it, and then you draw a card, and if it's a grade 3, you draw another card. So kind of that fixes that grade 3 situation. Since we're going to be running so many grade 3s, and we only have one that we really want to be ridden on, he helps us kind of get that early card advantage. So you're already drawing for turn, then you ride onto your starter, so you're drawing again, then you put 1 back and draw 2 more. So that's 4 cards, turn 1 without attacking. And then let's say if we actually go into, we're going, second, then you're getting a quick shield on top of that, and then you also get that from the attack. So that's 6 cards drawn on the first turn. So optimal, you're literally drawing a whole new hand on just your first grade 1 ride. So perfect little combo for that. Of course, I run 4 Commander Laurel. This is the V series, so it's not the older one which is still limited, because that one is when it hits you restand and have to rest for. This one I like more because it's Counterblast 1, double the power and critical. This is what's going to make our Vanguards go from it's swinging from 46, 56 to the swing 112, 146, 200, 250. Those numbers where you're literally like, we're not hard guarding this. Do you have a PG or are we not doing this? So great little choice on that. I threw in 2 of these for my other Sentinels, Cosmic Hero Grand Monk. Now this is just a meta choice, just because people are like, why are you running grade 1s? A, because we have weird guard restrict, but the biggest thing is when you guard with this card, if the attacking unit that you are guarding for its power is over 30,000, you draw a card. So technically, you're not negging yourself anything. You're literally guarding technically with 1 card. So that's still fantastic. And the second part mostly is for those Narukami matchups, because while this is in drop zone, you can bind this card, choose up to 6 of your units, and then they get resist. So the nice thing about it is when you're going into those Narukami plays, when they're gonna go sit there and be like, oh, I'm gonna blow up your board in response to G-Guards. I'm gonna Cannoneer, I'm gonna do this. No, you're not. You're still gonna get the full effect of your entire board. Now, of course, you have to bind it, so of course, sometimes that fuels Narukami, but I'd rather still have my board to attack with and just give them an extra card, because at the end of the day, Narukami and drawing cards is not really a problem. So they are going into this. Of course, 4-die dumper. This guy, since we're running so many grade 3s, he's going to give us those 10k shields to make it a little bit easier for us. So this is great, so that way, like, hey, we have a handful of grade 3s, we're not sitting there dying on their first grade 3 ride. Then we're going into Toxic Monster Gel Sludge. Again, nice on-place ability, Soul Blast 1. If they are grade 3, we get both abilities, where we get A, draw out the Counter Blast, and if they don't Soul Blast, then hey, they were going to get -5. So you can nice little stack those. Of course, the main things, grade 3s. So of course, 4-die liner. We already know the big thing, all of our grade 3s get plus 10k shield, so it makes all of our cards into nice chunky shields for us later down the road, just continuous. Plus, you can swing early with him and get him up to, if you use Force 2, you can get him up to 33,000 with 3 crit, and then if you use Commander Laurel, that's 66,000 with 4 crit. So that's pretty much early on, if they're at grade 2, that's a very threatening number to end the game on. Die Arm, just because this right now, what deck does not have a hand? All it needs is all your opponent needs is 10 cards in hand, play this down, that's 30 to the whole front. And then you can just keep calling and stacking and stacking. At Chicago, I got this to 256,000 thanks to this guy. We got 3-die Kaiser. Mostly just because when we get to those, they're going to take at least 1 big attack, and if they survive, then they're already at 5 damage. We can put 2 of these in the front and bait out those perfect guards, so even if we don't break the perfect guards, we can still deal them damage to end the game. And you can activate both of these, so that way even if they heal, you can make it cool, you're still taking 1 auto. So it kind of gets around those over trigger plays, gets around those kind of miracle heals. I run 1 Dizorius, just because a lot of people run more of him. It's just the deck is so counterblast heavy that I'd rather just save it for, I'd rather save it for these guys. I'd rather save it for the Laurels. I'd rather commit more onto the board than just give my Vanguard an extra drive and extra critical, which, an extra drive, an extra critical, an extra drive and plus 10, which just still works for those plays. So I still run 1 to 2. I just cut them down to 1 for flavor. And what I think is the most important card is War Battle Princess Taser. So the big thing about it is with Nightmare Dolls, everything's superior calling. We got Spikes, we got Nightmares, we got Grand Blue, we got Order Colony. These guys just sit in the front, so those early plays, you can just go ahead and put 2 of these in the front, and then as soon as they call a card from anywhere that is not their hand, when they replace their rear guards, you can just rest it. So Ashley's come out? No, they don't. You just stop that right there. Same thing, when they're going in, when Grand Blue's starting to go into their chains, we can stop those chains and cut those attacks in half, which is super important. And then on top of that, these guys just naturally become chunky because of the G-Zone. Okay, and then we're gonna go to G-Zone. I'm gonna start with G-Guards. I run 3 unflipping G-Guards, the Aquatius Dolphin, I can't, that's Atlantis Dolphin? Yeah, something like that. So big thing is you have to have rear guards for him, but he flips, when you do is you flip something over, and then if you have, for each rear guard he gets plus 5k, and if he hits 30k in shield, then you unflip and countercharge. And then with it, I run just a nice little package to mix with those. With X-Caribou, we have Gallant Incantation GO5, and of course the Zeal. These are really good. This is just our nice big chunky shield. These 2 are really good against those multi-attacking decks. Again, Nightmare Dolls, this will help you out so much. Okay, so we got those done. Get those out of the way. And then we're gonna go into the full G-Zone. So of course we already know the staple card just to play this. Geomaglass. So this guy is first stride every time. So literally what you do is you attack with him, he reveals the top 7, and then you choose 2 units and call them, and then with that he gets an extra critical for every single one of your grade 3 cards. So you're going to easily swing for 6-7 crit when you're, especially if you're at Force 2 with this. And his other ability is where he's on G-Zone or Vanguard, G-Zone or Vanguard, all your grade 3s on rear guard and guard circle get plus 5k and plus 5k power. So when your opponent's trying to swing at you after you've already stritten, those base grade 3s are already 23. So pretty much you're luring them in just to attack your Vanguard, so you can get that critical, you can get your counterblast, you can get everything you need to stack up and crack back the next turn. And then, of course, the other Bravest Peak X Gallop. I mean, we kind of all know what this does. So once this guy hits 80,000, he gets quad drive. He re-stands, but he does lose all of his drive checks. So that's why we kind of want the Dizors there to kind of give it that extra drive to kind of push more. But the big thing is when you're swinging with that big in numbers and you're swinging with 4 drive checks and with how many grade 3s we run, you're going to hit that. Plus on base, he's already going to sit there. So. And lastly, just a few one-ofs. The GB8, just because right now games can go a little bit longer with those kind of stallier decks. And then, of course, the Zeroth Dragon to attack 3 times. Normally, this was just for flavor, but I still use X Gallop. And lastly, we have Die Command in case, right now, hey, if they try to starve me on Counterblast, I can still attack with my full field, suck it all into Soul, and call out a full field. So we're still kind of getting that multi-attack big threats. So that is what I got going on, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Again, help support Draw 2 crew. So right here, Draw 2, our local shop. We're definitely here. We're about here being diverse. We're trying to show you all these decks. So if you have any question on how to play, hit us up. Please, they buy, sell, trade. Hit those QR codes up, guys. And if not, catch you next video.